Parks, Public Safety, and Public Works Committee meeting for August 13, 2019. The purpose of the committee meetings are for the city departments to pass along information to the city council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda. By ordinance, the committee consists of the mayor, members of the city council, and the city administrator. The ordinance mandates the city administrator is the chair of the committee meetings, and by ordinance, the committee meetings make no more formal decisions on committee matters. Rather, items are voted to move to a mayor and council meeting for consideration and vote, or staff receives guidance from the committee regarding a matter. This is a public meeting but not a public hearing, therefore while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during the committee meetings. Public comments or questions are received at the regular city council meetings held at 7 p.m. in the city council chambers on the second and fourth Monday of each month. The first item on the agenda for today is the approval of minutes for the Administration, Finance, Recreation, and Parks Committee meeting for July 9th, 2019. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Moving on under administration. Item number 2, consideration to approve the road closure on Canton Street on Sunday, October 6, 2019 for the Roswell Wine Festival. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. This is the 7th year for the Wine Festival. They've put in an application again to have their festival located down on Canton Street. And Ms. Moore will talk to you about the road closure and what they're planning on doing.
Thank you. As Mr. Fisher said, it's their 7th year for the Roswell Wine Festival. They are requesting to close Lower Canton Street, which is Norcross to Magnolia at 10 a.m. and reopen at 6. Close Upper Canton Street, which is Norcross Street to Woodstock at 12 p.m. and reopening at 5. And close Elizabeth Way at 8 a.m. and reopening at 6 p.m. This varied closure helps for the restaurants that are further up. They are not closing as early. The setup is predominantly in the lower part of Norcross Street, of Canton Street. And the closures are all, the openings are all before the dinner crowd move on come in. They have reached out to Naylor Hall and talked to Sunny personally, and there are no events that day there, so that's taken care of. They currently have spoken to the businesses on Canton Street, and they are now talking to the residents, which are down those other streets. So we are asking for approval of the road closure on Canton on Sunday, October 6, 2019 for the Roswell Wine Festival.
Thank you, Chris. The floor is open for any questions.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Zapata. Second by Councilmember Tyson. Judy? Any further questions or comments, discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 3, consideration to approve a road closure on Canton Street on Saturday, October 5th, 2019 for the Roswell Motoring Festival. Mr. Fisher.
And so this is kind of a new request that we have for this motoring festival to be on Canton. And as you see in the title, it is for Saturday, which is the day before the Wine Festival on Sunday. So I'll let Ms. Ward talk about what their plan is.
This is a new event, as Mr. Fisher said. It's a motoring festival, and they would like to utilize Canton Street between Norcross and Magnolia, and also Elizabeth Way to display 200 classic motor cars. And it's a 4-hour event, and the ending will be a parade of the cars moving out. The road closure is a smaller closure. It's similar to our Alive in Roswell road closure. So we are again requesting the close of Canton, Magnolia, and Norcross, including Elizabeth Way, from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
Thank you, Chris. The floor is open.
So I think this is a cool event, and I'm just a little worried about the road being closed 2 days in a row in the same area. Is there any way we could look at maybe the upper square area and move the event possibly up there? I'm worried about 2 days in a row for the businesses down there.
They also had a British Motor Car Festival, the same group, and they did it at City Hall, and we incorporated the farmers market, and it was very successful as well. So we can look at the square certainly, and also this year.
And one of the other things I'd like to point out is that the businesses on the part of Canton Street that are open their business is affected as well because part of Canton Street is closed. And apparently people can't figure out that they can go up to Woodstock and turn, but they can't. So it does affect our merchants and restaurants on the open part as well. So I think we probably need to look at something.
And when you close it at Norcross, you cut off the ability to get to the one-pay parking lot. You cut off the ability to get around to, you're closing off Elizabeth there, so it gets pretty tight. So, if you could use any of the other locations, that would be cool.
None of it has been permitted yet, and they know that that's part of the thing, is that it has to go through city council, so, the mayor. So, we have a meeting with them Wednesday to discuss what happens today. So,
I mean, I'd love to take something to the upper square. Super Jenny's just opened up there, more stuff starts happening up there. I think that got a good space up there to utilize, and it'd be kind of cool. So.
I mean, it does sound like a really fun family event, so I think if there's a place that's safe where people can congregate, we'll be on there.
The thing too is we've got locations on the east side of Roswell, and the shopping center that has From the Earth Brewing in it has had car shows there before that have been very successful. So.
They're very open to things. The Connection Shopping Center.
Yeah.
Very positive. Sure.
And I have a question, what the merchants on Canton Street think about it? Do you have any feedback from them?
This particular one, I do not have a feeling about it because we've never really had it before. I think their main concern is the length of closure, and maybe as Councilmember Judy spoke to 2 days in a row, that might be some point of concern on their part. I think their main concern is having people come eat, and being able to park and eat, and then open up for dinner in time for dinner. That's what I find from them a lot, that they want it back open in time for the dinner crowd.
So, but in general, what do you think about closing for events?
I think overall, it depends on the event. I think they're happy to have people come in and, come into their restaurants and walk in their businesses. I've never really heard anything very negative about it.
They're getting more used to it. It used to be like pulling teeth to close any of it. I think they're seeing that more events are taking place. And generally, as long as we're not affecting that dinner crowd late in the evening, it seems to be a little bit better. I think we might be pushing it to do two days in a row. But generally, if you're out by dinner time, it seems to be that it's okay.
And I think if they know about it, they like to be very well informed far in advance, which I totally understand that.
The other thing that's different now is Sunday brunch. So, there's not as much Saturday brunch, but Sunday brunch is a big thing for our merchants now.
Do you think that connection could be an option there?
Sure, I can certainly talk to From the Earth, and he has a connection with the guy who owns the actual parking lot. So, actually,
It's very conducive to walking around with beer in your hand.
yeah. It's great, actually. It's great. There's
Great restaurants.
Event there that we're working with them on right now, a food and beverage festival. They're working on it. It would be right in that area, so they're very open to that type of.
Great.
So are we recommending we move this forward for approval contingent upon us exploring other alternatives? Is that,
Sure, that's fine with me.
okay. Is anybody willing to make that motion?
I will.
So where is the motion again? What is your proposal?
Yeah, we move it forward for approval contingent upon special events, working with the applicant to see if there's other areas that they could go to, possibly. Is that what we're talking about?
Can I interject here that it's consideration to approve a road closure on Canton Street?
Yeah, this
So we
is
have
just
to
for the
deny
road
that.
closure. We don't need to approve the event.
So it's
Okay.
Probably they're not down.
To deny them.
Yes.
That's what I'm
So we.
thinking.
No, you don't have to, I don't think you have to deny because it's just consideration.
Yeah. Okay, so we're good.
Right, agenda vote, yeah.
It says agenda vote.
Agenda vote.
Are we good then, Michael?
It's just worded consideration. I'd like to have a vote because we brought this for action. So it
Okay.
just needs to be voted down that we don't close this road on this day. If we could have that motion to deny it.
To deny, yeah.
Instead of denying, could we defer it, given the,
No, this is just the road
Just for the road.
closure.
Are you
We don't-
considering
we don't-
Canton Street?
I just like keeping, because if the other options didn't work out, I would like to just look for other opportunities to explore. I'll go with the majority of this.
Well, yeah, because I think all we're asking for on this is the road closure.
Is it
so-
road closure for Canton Street on this particular day
Yeah.
and this particular
Right.
time?
I'm going to vote with whatever this committee,
Motion to deny, I'll second it, okay?
So we have a motion to deny by Councilmember Zapata and second by Councilmember Tizer. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
But then you
Thanks, Chris. Moving on to item number 4, consideration to approve placement of 2 memorial markers on the grounds of City Hall to honor members of the Armed Forces, Blue, and family members who lost loved ones serving our country, Gold. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Got a request from Miss Susie Crow for the Roswell Garden Club to place 2 markers, memorial markers on the City Hall property. I've got some pictures up here that you can kind of take a look at. This is the Gold Star. It's for families of veterans from the United States service. And then the Blue Star is for the Armed Forces people themselves for memorials. And what they're asking for is to work with the city of Roswell, they've spoken with the Rotary Club of Roswell and the Memorial Day Committee because they want to try to possibly put something, put one of each of these out on City Hall property and then have it presented by next May 25th for the Memorial Day ceremony that we have here at City Hall. So this goes through a long application process. If you all agree to placing some of these memorials on City Hall, the Roswell Garden Club would work through an application process and send it to the State Garden Club. The State Garden Club would review it, hopefully give their approval to that application. And then it would go to the National Garden Club. They're the ones who actually do this program. It is a national program. It's not just a local program. There's some guidelines that go with it that you all have in your packets. I don't have up here. But this request today is a request to place these memorials out here. I do not have a location at this time. I wanted to get your input first to see if you like this program, if you think this is a program to move forward with. If so, and if we want to place them on the City Hall property, I think we could get with Rec and Parks and Jay and look at some of the landscaping that we have in some of the areas where they possibly could be placed, and we can put them in. It is just one memorial for each, one for the families, one for the service members. It's not for individuals, so we won't have a bunch of them. It would be one for each, and it would just be recognizing them in a memorial. The tribute for the Blue Star would say a tribute to the armed services who have defended the United States of America. And then for the Gold Star Families tribute, it would be a tribute to all Gold Star families, honor, hope, and healing. So that's what the memorials would be for. If we can find a place to set those out at City Hall property, we would like to do that. Obviously that we have a couple memorials out here now that, we could possibly work something around. We have the one in this area, then another smaller one over here. But there's just a lot of places that we could. If you're interested in this program and would like us to move forward, I think my recommendation would be to get some input from you guys and then maybe put together a small, just a concept plan of where it could go and what it could look like to bring it back for a final decision at that point, if y'all are good with that. I'll be glad to answer any questions regarding that.
So have you had a chance to explore other sites for this?
I have not at this time. I know we do a service over at the Roswell Area Park in the pond area around the peninsula that I think could work there too. So we could look at that. I haven't talked to Ms. Crow in great detail. I know that their first choice would be to try to have something here, but that doesn't mean if there's other good, respectful places that it could go, we could certainly take a look at that also.
Right.
But not at this point. I just wanted to kind of get the idea across and see if this is something that you want to pursue, and then we could find something and drop a concept for you at that time.
Yeah, I feel like we need to pursue, but I would like to see what other options are viable. So I would like to make a motion to defer the item until you can explore more sites and see what fit better and
Sure.
come back.
We didn't want to put a lot of staff time into it until it got to you guys first to see if it's something you're interested in. But if it is, we can certainly do that.
I don't see why we would defer it 'cause over location. I mean, we'll find a good place to put it, so I'd like to move forward.
Sorry? So, but this is, the motion is to City Hall, or is in general anywhere for the motion?
You make the motion whatever you want it to.
Yeah, right now, the request is a consideration to approve the placement of the memorials on the grounds of City Hall. The motion could be to move forward with placing 2 memorials at a site to be decided as we look at the different drawings, if you wanted to do it that way.
Okay.
And
That's
then we
fine.
can bring it back once we get a couple of drawings and some options up. If you're good with the idea, we can approve the idea and then just bring the locations back.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. That is the motion then.
Can you state the motion again for the record?
Motion to approve this and find a location later, basically.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further discussion?
Councilmember Zapata had a motion on the table.
Well, I didn't get that. What was the motion?
You asked for clarification on it.
Yeah. And I thought.
Yeah, I heard a motion. I
Councilman
wasn't sure.
Judy
Maybe.
was giving clarification and,
Okay, what was that motion?
well, Mr. Fisher, can you repeat what you suggested?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
How to modify your,
Yeah,
proposal?
I just turned away from it. So right now, what we've asked for the recommendation is consideration to approve the placement of the memorial markers on the grounds of City Hall. The motion could be that you approve the placement of 2 memorials in a location to be determined.
correct.
So if that was what you were
Motion to
interested
approve,
in.
yes.
So that would be the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by the mayor. Any further question or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of the employee benefits package for plan year October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, and approval for the mayor and the city administrator to sign a 1-year contract with UME Gerber Life in the amount of $772,415.
And I'm going to let the experts speak on this one, Mr. Horner and Amy and David. Y'all come and sit up here and give it out of your way.
Well, good evening. Yes, as Gary mentioned, this is for your consideration, an employee benefits package for the upcoming plan year, which begins October 1st. So opening will begin in September. And with me tonight, Amy Thomas, who manages our benefits, and David Pittard, our consultant from One Digital Health and Benefits, to kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at for this year. So,
You go ahead and click forward. If I don't mess you up. I'll go ahead and start intro while you're fixing my issue there. So just as a quick foundational reset in this conversation, this discussion involves all of the health and welfare benefits as it relates for the employee population for the city, with the majority of the expense being, as you would expect, in the health plan itself. That said, back in 2014, the city transitioned from a fully insured plan to a partially self-funded plan. The years prior to, there had been a fair amount of planning and work put in place to make that a successful transition. So the city's had benefited over the past several years from that transition. The first couple of years, the city is with Blue Cross Blue Shield as an administrator in a network under that self-funded arrangement. In the most recent years, the administrator's been an independent third-party administrator called Health EZ. The pharmacy benefits manager has been Magellan RX for the past 3 years, I believe now. And in this current plan year, the claims loss ratio is currently projects at a 70% loss ratio. So when we look at our maximum claims exposure, the actual incurred claims to date lands at 70% of that maximum exposure. From a reference standpoint for everyone else, the target loss ratio for the underwriter is 80%. So anything that's less than 80% is a favorable position. As it stands this year, with just a couple of 3 months to go before the year's over, we're in a positive position as it relates to the overall plan performance this year. as you would expect, and we do, every year we do a comprehensive market evaluation for the various components that comprise the health plan. And so we did that this year. And one of the elements that was represented a little bit more prominently in the evaluation this year than some of the two most recent prior years was the third-party administrator and Health EZ. This is our third year in, and we wanted to do a thorough dive to make certain we were still in the right place. What the primary role for the third-party administrator is to process the claims. They provide the network, with Cigna being the network for us, and then they do overall plan management, whether that be in the health management area with pre-certification case management, and then making certain that the billing's appropriate so that the provider actually submitted the appropriate codes for what procedures were rendered so that they manage the money under that claims front appropriately. So we worked with staff to conduct a thorough analysis and really broke it apart into each technical area that the TPA represents against a cross-section of other viable candidates based on the types of plans that Roswell has, as well as the other types of programs and what the expectations would be from both a service level and then an overall financial plan management. In the end, there were a couple other strong candidates, but it was overall recommendation that there wasn't anything that necessitated a recommendation for change. So the recommendation would be to renew, again with Health EZ, for the reasons that they were previously selected.
And David, you looked at about 10 different TPA firms. There were really only 4 that met the criteria that we were looking for, but there were 4 finalists. Yeah.
And then in addition, the recommendation would be to renew with Magellan RX as the prescription benefit administrator. That had gone through a contract renewal and renegotiation last year to make certain that the term stayed on the most favorable basis from an overall drug acquisition cost basis to the city, as well as the recouping of rebates that the manufacturers pay back for certain either brand name or specialty medications. So we continue to monitor that prescription contract on a monthly basis with our pharmacy consultants, and it's still a best-in-class contract, so we recommend the renewal of that contract as well for the upcoming plan year. I touched most of these points. I got a little ahead of myself, shocking, but just overall, Health EZ, the administrative fee arrangement would continue forward the way it has been in the past, which based on the projected current head count on a 12-month forward basis would project to $246,000 for the 2019-2020 plan year.
This would help if I had
That's okay. They're used to me getting ahead of myself. From a plan design standpoint, we do have considerations this year. While the plan has performed well, about I think 2 to 3 years ago, we introduced 2 new HSA plans to go alongside the traditional $2,000 deductible plan. You can see the percentages of enrollment of the employee enrollment next to each plan option today. The intent of the other 2 options were to provide different value point decisions for associates. So the $2,600 deductible HSA option provides certain consideration for those that cover dependents in comparison to the $2,000 option, and then the $1,500 was designed to provide a lower deductible threshold option for associates. Based on evaluation and feedback, the recommendation is to eliminate the $1,500 HSA plan and add a traditional point-of-service copay plan for the upcoming plan year that we'll illustrate here in just a minute.
Yeah, and one of the driving points behind this, besides over the years hearing folks and employees say, boy, we really like the days when we had copay type plan, was that some of our sister cities and some of our other cities around still offer one option as a copay plan. So we looked at that. We'd kind of gotten away from that a few years ago to pure HSA plans, but we feel it's great to offer an additional choice for employees. Now it would be lower deductible, and obviously with a copay situation, which we'll see on the following slides, there would be higher premiums for the employees. So that way the city's contribution to, no matter what plan the employee chooses, the city's contribution is consistent across the plan. So, but it does give a little more choice if you all are agreeable to it. So, yeah.
So as Jim said, the overall design of the plan, where the deductibles are positioned, the co-pays, co-insurance, and then we'll do a quick review on the premiums in just a minute, had an actuarial review to make certain that the exposure from the city's standpoint was consistent amongst all three plans. And while there's a lot of rates, and that's a busy slide, that's effectively what's being illustrated on this page.
Right, if you look at that middle column where it says City of Roswell or COR monthly contribution.
One over.
Yeah, one over to the left, either one of those, yeah. You can see as you go down the plan, we're pretty consistent regardless of what, it's not to the penny, but regardless of the plan the employee chooses. And again, in exchange for lower deductibles and a copay instead of a higher deductible, the employee would pay a higher proportion of that higher cost for that plan. One other thing, and sorry David if you've already mentioned this, can't remember, but the traditional plan does not have an HSA contribution because it's not a high deductible plan. So that's IRS regulation.
Correct. Another success from a change implemented from the prior year. So when the health and wellness program was originally introduced, the city experienced high engagement participation rates. Over the past few years, we started to see those participation rates dwindle. The recommendation was made last year to increase the incentive for the participation from $20 to $40, and the intended result is what you all have realized. We went from a 59% overall participation rate for those associates on the health plan up to now back to those high levels of 86%, which is really very, very strong in comparison to peer organizations, whether that be locally, nationally, from an industry standpoint. But overall, you could look at it, whether it's commercial or public sector side, 86% is something you all should be proud of. So it's a strong number. The third component of the health plan is the reinsurance, and it's currently with underwriter UME, with Gerber Life being the actual reinsurance carrier. You've been with UME for a few years. Every year we do, once again, a comprehensive market evaluation. This year with 18 different reinsurance carriers solicited to make certain that we, one, had the most competitive option and or replace if a more competitive option was available. This area is a little bit more price driven than other elements potentially of the overall contract because it doesn't directly interact with any of the associates. This is just a financial mechanism to protect the city for large claimant exposures. As you can see in the loss ratios presented for the 3 prior plan years, the city's unfortunately had some larger claims over the past few years, and the carriers paid out a lot more in claims than the city's paid in premiums over this period of time. So if we look at the first year, it was a 385% loss ratio. Intolerable loss ratios in the reinsurance market for the premium portion, as opposed to the maximum claims liability, is a much lower threshold because the premium dollar is smaller. So generally they want to see it at 60% or better. So at 385% or 121 and 136. Obviously, those were much higher, and we've been able to manage that through the market evaluations in the prior years, as well as some adjustments. Last year, we increased the specific deductible. That's the level in which, on an individual claimant, the city stops paying and the carrier kicks in to help mitigate potential increase. This year, overall, we're in a better position as it relates to those situations. And so the proposed premium increase after the market evaluation, and UME Gerber did end up being the most competitive option in the end after all the negotiations, is an 8% adjustment to the premium, which would be a $57,000 premium increase, and then a just a 4.4% adjustment to the maximum claims liability. There continues to be some individuals from the large claimant situation, as you would expect us to, when you have 520 some odd covered associates on an average basis, you're always going to have different individuals from one year to the next that'll carry over with care needs, and that's going to be the case in the upcoming year as well. So that wraps up the health plan side of the health and welfare benefits. The next section is to talk about proposed recommendations as it relates to the ancillary benefits. So this includes the group life insurance, group disability, dental, and vision coverages. The last year, after many years of being with the standard for life and disability, the standard had to issue a larger increase. The market bared out a more competitive option with Unum, and the city went ahead and moved to Unum with a multi-year rate guarantee from Unum. So the life and disability was in a rate guarantee and in a strong position, but the dental and vision was up for renewal. It also has run a little bit higher in terms of claims expense versus overall premium exposure, and the standard initially came out with a 9% renewal. Proposed renewal increase. We were able to negotiate it down to 6%. However, there were several competitive options from the market, the most competitive being MetLife. MetLife was willing to issue a 6% reduction off the current dental rates with a 2-year rate guarantee, and then a 3rd year 6% rate cap. So worst case scenario in year 3, we'd be back to where we sit right now. And the overall annual there was an overall enhancement to the annual maximum of taking it from $1,500 a year dental cap to $2,000 enhancement from that side, as well as while standard held the vision flat, MetLife was able to provide a 14% reduction for the associates on the vision premiums. And so from a network standpoint, we did do a disruption analysis to make certain that we weren't exchanging premium savings for suddenly putting the associates in a bad position with not having access to the same providers. You're always going to have one or two different from one network to the other, but MetLife actually had more dentists in network than the standard did based on the actual claims that the city's employees and their dependents had seen over the prior 12 months. So that was an enhancement as well. So if you look at the overall value of the 3-year contract, it's a savings of $230,000 to the city. So those are the proposed recommendations. Questions?
Floor is open.
Well, thank you for what's a fairly thorough review. I want to just make a couple of positive comments about Health Easy. I've had the pleasure of experiencing that this year. Very smooth and frankly well done. Hopefully I haven't just jinxed it, but they did a nice job for my family and for me. On the dental, it's always rough to change, but I think if we can focus on the fact that we're increasing the maximum annual coverage from $1,500 to $2,000, that's a pretty big slug. And
premiums will go down.
And your premiums are going down 14%. I think that's kind of, for our employees, that's certainly something worth whatever inconvenience that might cause.
And MetLife is a pretty well-known name out there too.
So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have the loss ratio for the reinsurance portion?
For the current year to date?
Yes, you have the 17, 18, I believe the last, you have 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17.
So the current year, I don't have it with us. The one consideration as it relates to loss ratio on the reinsurance premium is you're not in a position to annualize that out like you would the claims across the entire population, because it has a lot more volatility within it. But I'm looking back at colleague, and I want to say it's 40 to 60% year to date. Okay, thank you. And we can get that to you. We can confirm what it was through the most recent month.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve and move forward.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Tyser, second by Councilmember Zapata. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you.
Let the user of the service to make the motion. I don't have that. I don't use the service, so.
Item number 6, approval of a resolution requesting the Georgia General Assembly to allow municipalities to contract with contiguous counties to conduct municipal elections. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. This item was brought up after we went through our elections contract process with Fulton County this year. The city currently is allowed by law to run its own municipal elections, and it's also allowed by law to contract with Fulton County and only Fulton County, because that's the county that we're in. This resolution is asking the General Assembly to make a determination and give us the ability to contract with contiguous counties that are might be more efficient, might be more cost-effective for the citizens of Roswell, and actually opened up statewide for other cities and other counties that can work together, and it just gives a little more opportunity for some competition when we're trying to go out and get a competitive, quality election process every 2 years.
And the reason why I brought this forward is because, I just feel like we need to keep Fulton County honest and competitive. And opening it up, it doesn't mean we have to go contract with a contiguous county. We can still continue to contract with Fulton County, but it does open it up. And would you also delve into why the city really doesn't want to take on this responsibility of voting?
Coming from a county background, there's so much that goes into the voting precincts, how all the voting areas are set up. At the county level, we had elections every 2 years also. It is a full-time job with a full-time department and a full-time staff. You only vote a couple of times, during that process, but there's so much that goes on, and it takes good, quality, experienced staff to try to do that, and to start something up like that where we can go out and find something from the contract side is really a lot easier to do. Then there's also the idea that you have to have all the equipment. That equipment has to be maintained. It's got to have secure storage. It's got to be tested regularly. It's not an easy department to have within the city or county government. Counties have to have it, but if we can contract that, this is a really good service to contract. You can just find good service from a contractor, I guess is the best way to say it. But yeah, if we can contract it out, that would be the recommendation.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Councilman.
Oh, you want to?
Second.
I believe somebody has questions.
Yeah, are there any other cities around us who are looking to petition the General Assembly for this?
Yes, I've had the conversation with the North Fulton mayors, and we will continue to have that conversation. And I've also had the conversation with our state legislature, our representatives, and they are very open to this as well.
Have any of the other cities passed a resolution or are planning to pass a resolution?
I don't know their intention. I shared this resolution with them, and I think that they were waiting to see how the dice rolled on the elections this year before they move forward. But this was proposed once before by the Fulton County cities, and the ball was dropped at the state level. So this is the second pass at it.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't see what your mayor report, so if you want to make the motion, I can second your motion.
Well, I think Councilmember Wilsey has a question.
Yeah, I do. I have a question. I guess, Mike, is, realistically, what would the cost be associated from other counties? And the reason I ask that is, Roswell residents are paying taxes to Fulton County, so I would assume that some of those taxes, go into providing at least a portion of the services that they're then, billing us back for. So I guess realistically, would we see a cost savings if it was being offered by another county?
It's very hard to tell now because you don't know what the other surrounding counties have built into their elections already.
Right.
And yes, we do pay taxes, but we cover our expenses almost fully for our portions of our elections. And even though we pay taxes in Fulton County, that's, I think, one of the issues that we have is they're still billing us for all of our costs anyway. If some of the other counties are running more efficiently, a better process, then maybe that price would be a little bit lower. I don't know the answer to that. We've never looked because, quite frankly, we don't even have the ability to look right now. So
And
it's
this is
certainly-
just the ability to look.
Right. It's certainly something to be able to go out and see what they might come to the table with. It could be a revenue source for some of a county that might need some of that maybe, and they might get very competitive with it. We don't know.
I guess I'd just like to have a better idea of what the cost savings is and if it's a statewide issue. I mean, I think Fulton County worked pretty well with us to help come to a resolution recently, so we just need more information on what the big cost advantages are.
I think this will help us get it there, and I think it'll open up the conversation. Right now, there's no reason to even go and have a conversation with the contiguous county because we have no ability to do anything with them anyway.
Motion to approve on the floor.
We have some more
Councilmember Judy has a question.
So I'm a little worried that we don't have the strength in numbers yet from the surrounding cities. And, I'd like to know before this goes to the legislature that we have support of the surrounding cities. And this is a kind of a group of folks that are going this direction. I think that will help us with the process moving forward because there is strength in numbers. So I would like to hear from the Mayor's Association or whoever that this is the direction that all our surrounding cities want to go before we go pick a fight with Fulton County.
Well, I don't see it as picking a fight with Fulton County, but also I think that we need to be leaders in Fulton County. And I can't go to the mayors of our sister cities in North Fulton and ask them to sign on to something that my council hadn't signed on to. So if you would prefer, I can go to them and say, we don't want to take a leadership position on this, and if you do what we might follow you, but...
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I would like to get a feeling of their thoughts on this before I make a decision.
So I think, I feel I'm hearing both sides. And so I feel Fulton County, after some negotiation, did end up working with us, and I definitely appreciate that. And my goal would always be to use our county versus another county, but I also support the mayor in her goal of just making sure there's that flexibility in the future to really help ensure that it is competitive. I am not supportive of denying this. I would be supportive of deferring it to it if it was in the very near term with a very specific committee date it's coming back to. Or I'd be even more supportive of approving the resolution, but if there's a concern with being the only one sending it out there, I'd support approving the resolution and giving direction that the resolution is sent upon a single other adding on to it, if that would give this council more comfort. But I do agree with the mayor, and I do want to see, and Councilmember Zapata, who's nodding his head. I want to make sure we're leaders in this, and I don't want to just say we'll sign something if someone else does. I'd like to go ahead and sign it, even if this council prefers it's not sent until we have another neighboring community sign it as well.
So, listen to all the comments that, first of all, doesn't tie us to any deal with any county at all. It's just giving flexibility, freedom to choose, between options, given options to the Roswell taxpayers to choose the best deal to carry the election. So I think that giving more local control on where we can go to select the service for the election. So I really don't see anything negative. Actually, I see very positive. Give us flexibility, give us freedom to choose, and might even save taxpayers' money. Doesn't mean that we are contracting to any other county tomorrow at all. It's just to give us flexibility and an option. So I don't see any huge problem. And taking the leadership in North Fulton, in Georgia, is not bad. So I think that I would definitely support this initiative.
I would support a deferral to one of the next committee meetings to figure out some more information and talk to a few more people before I make a decision.
Motion on the floor to approve.
Yeah. Let me just point out too, I don't know if you all know, but Mountain Park, part of it's in Cherokee County. And actually, they have the option of contracting with Fulton County or Cherokee. They do choose to go with Cherokee County just because of their reputation and the cost of the services. So
I don't know that I'm against it. I just would like to get a little bit more input to find out if we lead, will there be following, or are we going to be hung out there by ourselves? So if we can defer it, and I don't know when the next mayor's meeting is, you can bring back a little more information of where everyone else might be on it. I think I might be able to get there at that time. I'm just not quite there yet. So I don't know if I'll be in the majority or the minority, but I'm just not all the way there. I'm close, but I'm not all the way there.
And I'm definitely not against this either. In fact, I am probably leaning toward doing this. I just, again, would appreciate a deferral.
could I suggest that the motion might be changed, that I have the authority to speak with the other mayors in Fulton County and let them know that the council is supportive. However, the council is requesting their participation in this in order to move forward.
I'd support that.
Yeah.
You need to be willing to amend that motion.
Can someone else make this? I mean, can I?
You can withdraw your motion.
Yeah, withdraw my motion.
Open it back up.
Yeah, withdraw my motion.
So then I would make the motion that, what did I just say?
That they authorize you.
That council authorizes me to speak with the other mayors in Fulton County about this initiative, and council is supportive but wants to be certain that there are other cities in North Fulton interested in partnering with us. Does that work?
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a
Second.
Guys, for lack of a second.
No,
Second.
second.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Moving on to finance, item number 7, presentation of GIS capital project dashboard.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. So the Finance Department and the GIS Division is very excited to present this dashboard that we have put together. Patrick and Angel have done a great job putting this together, and this is a CIP dashboard, so it's basically going to provide information on some of the major FY20 approved capital projects for us. And it includes both maintenance and one-time capital projects by department. So this is kind of the layout. And the reason basically for doing this is to provide regular updates to our residents on what the status of some of these major capital projects is. So I'll let Patrick walk us through the layout of this dashboard.
Thank you, Harpreet. Good evening, everyone. As Harpreet mentioned, this has been a joint effort between GIS and Finance to build a dashboard, which is a high-level visual interface, meant for condensing a lot of data into bullet points that are easily consumable. This would be a website when completed that could either be internally or externally facing. Currently, it's password protected as it's still in development. But what you're seeing here is what anyone who accessed the website would see. We have the entire city here and a list of all 36 CIPs that were included in this. We did not include all CIPs, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we did not include the smaller projects like purchase of some equipment or things like that. So it's just the major capital projects that we have here.
Okay. The left panel here gives you the ability to filter the information by department, by phase, by type, and by year. Since this is our first year, we only have 2020, but we could move back in time, extract some older projects and insert them in here, or continue it forward with 2021, so on and so forth. The middle pane has a list of all projects that meet the filter and are within the map itself. Across the top here, you have a representation of the projects, if they are on budget, on schedule, and the total dollar amount, again, of all projects that meet the criteria and are within the map extent. And on the right-hand side, you have more detailed information. So we're going to update this every quarter from the department heads. And if one of these projects were to fall behind schedule or go over budget, these green icons would change to red. Further down, we have the phase of the project, a description, and contact information if someone were to want to learn more. So if I were to come to the site and I was interested in fire-related CIPs, I could just check the fire filter, and I see that there are only 2 here included in the CIP viewer. For the fire station number 5 remodel, if I were to click on this, the map zooms to it. Again, it's on budget, on schedule, but the monetary value has changed to 2.2 million since that is the only project in the map. The information is also updated over here, so I could get more information if I were interested.
So, quick question, sorry. How will I know that the 28.8 million is the total cost of the project?
So this bar contains information on all projects that meet the filter criteria and are within the map extent. So if I were to zoom in, you'll see these numbers change. This number changed currently because we just loaded all of these in for the current year. Everything is on budget and on schedule, so that makes us look really great. The value will change as you pan around because as projects come into and out of the map view, it only calculates what you're seeing here and it meets these criteria. So if I took off all filters and zoomed to the full extent, the projects that we loaded in have a cumulative value of 28.8 million. But if I were to filter this and then zoom in, the numbers will change.
So you don't put total value or something that
So the total value of the project, like for instance, can you click on one of the projects?
No, because you put 100% on budget, 100% on schedule, and then just 4.6 M.
So that 4.6 million that you see should be the total. So that's it. So that number that you see, the 4.6 million, is for that particular map view. That's what it's giving. So whatever projects fall within that particular map view is the number you see there. But if you want to see the cost for the specific project, so you see that down here, what Patrick just highlighted. So that's the cost of the project. And that number will be updated. So we'll put the actual cost right against that as the project moves along. Did that answer your question?
I'm saying titles in every single number except for the 4.6 M in this case.
So are you saying that the 4.6 million is confusing?
Well, the other tell you 100% on budget, 100% on schedule, and then you just have a number of 4.6 M
Right.
without any clarification or...
So we could add some clarifying text up here to say that this is the current value of all projects in the map.
Right, something like that, so people can easily read the line and see.
Okay, I see your point now, and it's a good one.
Thanks.
So again, this is just a new tool that we spent the past couple of weeks working with Harpreet and the finance department to develop. To provide some transparency. I know a lot of our citizens and staff are interested in the progress of some of our capital projects, and this is a tool that's easily accessible and should be easy to understand to get a little more information about those projects.
I think it's really cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
A question, does it give you any a clickable detail on what the budget, what goes into the budget? Or is it just the amount, the estimated cost that's
When you say
there?
what goes into the budget?
I guess, different components versus consultant fees or,
No.
to what level?
No, it does not.
Okay.
It just gives the total cost.
Interesting.
Right. Good job.
We could include some links if we have any other online resources that go into more detail about those costs.
About the project plans, sure. Okay.
Right, so somewhere down in here, there could be a hyperlink, to a fact sheet about the individual project, which could give you that more detailed information, but this is just meant to surmise just very high-level information.
Now, is it something that like automatically updates or?
Every quarter.
Oh,
Correct, every quarter, when the
Every quarter,
when the
okay.
directors report on their respective CIPs,
Capital
we would get that information and update the system.
okay, great, thank you. It's cool.
Very nice. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Nice work, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Recreation and Parks, item number 8, consideration of resolution for approval to submit a grant application to the Georgia Council for the Arts Cultural Facilities Grant in the amount of $15,000. Mr. Robert.
Thank you. Also have Becky Hawkins here to help me out today. And as this pulls up, just wanted to provide some information. On Art Center West. So what we're proposing tonight is a new kiln at Art Center West. Becky's going to go into the specific details, but just as some background, really continue to be very proud of everything that our staff does at all of our facilities, and wanted to cover a couple of items at Art Center West, which provides an array of ceramic, blacksmithing, and welding classes and camps for all ages. This last year, fiscal year 19, had over 1,000 participants, individual participants that came to multiple programs and classes, generated about $150,000 in revenue and class participation, and have just a great network of artists that continue to come out to the center through our Clay Collective. About 100 volunteers through our Clay Collective program that supports local artists through outreach, education, and various programs. They do a wonderful job not only of creating art, but also supporting what we do on a regular basis. And just the last couple of years, they've generated several thousands of dollars in support of Art Center West and being able to remodel the house, being able to help us with supplies and equipment, and is a great partnership as a booster club and a support organization for us. We also have a great opportunity with our Artist in Residency program that creates a number of opportunities for education, both outward facing to our community, but also inward inside of the studios themselves, where artists can hone their own skills in clay making, both at the wheel and also hand pressed. And so it's just a wonderful, unique opportunity that we have to provide a very, very neat and as I said, unique artist opportunity. We've got kids from all ages, multiple genders, multiple ethnicities that enjoy that space on a regular basis, as well as adults. It's one of those unique places where you have multiple generations of people working and thriving together. And that brings us to this next opportunity that I have Becky here to talk a little bit about, which we think is a great grant opportunity that we'd like to submit an application for. This is just the application process. And I'll turn it over to Becky.
So this is for a wood-fired train kiln. We do not currently have one on site at Art Center West. It would actually kind of complete our scope of ceramic options out there. It's kind of one of the oldest versions of ceramic firing that there is, but it's also one of the ones that probably creates the most community. So it would extend our programs. It would allow for special events as well as for community building, because the whole purpose is that you put your pots in there and you start a fire, and the fire actually has to be stoked and kept up for up to 30 hours. So there's not one like this in the metro area, so it would bring some notoriety to the center as well in this area, but also nationally, because there's just a handful of them across the nation. But for instance, in Salem, they have one, and then they created this festival around it called a fire festival. And so every time they light the kiln, they have people come out and do fire demonstrations, and it's a nice fit with our blacksmithing demonstrations as well. So it gives us the opportunity to sort of build these smaller niche community events as well. And So basically, it's a giant wood-fired kiln. It will bring people together, preserve an old tradition because it's one of the oldest ways of providing ceramic firing, and it would share sort of the potter's way of life and continue our goal and vision for Art Center West, which is to sort of be this art maker space, highlighting craftsmanship and different trades, and to be a creative space for various tools and art. And this request does align with the 2020 budget goals of increased access to historic and cultural opportunities and encouraging the development of programs and activities that offer enrichment and cultural access. We do, right, the greatest amount that we would ask from the city's grant fund would be $15,000. However, we do have a private donor that we're trying to secure who came forward with some funds, which would reduce the amount being asked from the city possibly down to $7,500.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Cool.
Sold.
Yeah.
Second by Councilmember Spada. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Just don't call anything the fire.
I was gonna say, I cannot support a fire
Right.
festival here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
We will
with an
not
I, not a
adopt that
Y.
branding.
We've seen that documentary and it doesn't go well.
Successful fire festival.
Yeah.
Can we grill in there?
Thank you.
Get on deck. Pressure, Lydia. All eyes on you. Okay, moving on to the Public Safety and Public Works Committee agenda. Under approval of minutes, item number 1, approval of the minutes of the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting July 9th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Under Public Safety Fire, number 2, consideration to approve an automatic aid and mutual aid agreement between the City of Roswell and City of Milton. Chief Burnett.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I've got several items today to speak with you about. This item is a automatic and mutual aid agreement between the City of Roswell and the City of Milton. I've been working on this for quite some time. This document, just so you know, has already been approved by legal. I won't give you just a description between the difference between automatic aid and mutual aid. Mutual aid is basically when you call for help from one dispatch center to the other. We have this through something called GMAG, Georgia Mutual Aid Group, and we have verbal mutual aid agreements. Automatic aid is when you actually go into a contractual agreement and you're automatically dispatched into areas. There's areas where Milton Fire Station 41 is off of 140. There's actually areas that are City of Roswell that they can actually stand on their pad and see. So it doesn't make sense for us not to utilize that. The agreement that we have will be limited to the response areas that's outlined in your packet. It's based on the operational needs. The agreement includes communications and operability, and we will be providing joint training. Again, this is to get the quickest unit to the emergency, whether it be Milton or the city of Roswell. This will help with our ISO rating and credits. It'll also increase our firefighting capabilities without incurring any additional personnel and equipment. So when they come to help us, obviously they're providing a truck or a ladder truck or an engine and personnel.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry?
Motion to approve for whenever you're ready.
There is no direct cost to the city, and I just ask that we move forward to mayor and council.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Palermo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 3, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between the City of Roswell and the City of Alpharetta to provide supplemental hazardous material emergency response for the City of Roswell. Chief Burnett.
Thank you. Again, this is basically to share resources with the City of Alpharetta and utilize their hazmat team that they have. They have a statewide hazmat team in Alpharetta. Again, I always like to start by saying this has been approved by legal. The MOU will have shared resources with such large incidents like chemical, biological, nuclear, and explosive devices. The primary objective is to create a regional hazmat team in order to prevent and avoid duplication of services. And what we do, we have a hazmat team, and I'm proud to say that within a couple of weeks we'll have our Roswell heavy rescue truck here. If you follow us on Facebook, you've probably already seen that truck. Something we're going to be proud of, and that's probably some MOUs I'll be bringing back to you to share that resource with the other North Fulton cities. But what we don't have as far as our hazmat team is level A entry, and that's basically to go in and test a product to see what it actually is, and they go in the encapsulated suits. And we don't have the detection equipment that Alpharetta has. They have some of their equipment, detecting equipment that costs up to $50,000. So there is no direct cost again to the City of Roswell, and I ask that you move this forward to Mayor and Council. Any questions?
Floor is open. I'm sorry.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Wilsey.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Zapata. Any further question or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 4, consideration to adopt a revised Roswell Alpharetta Public Safety Training Center RAPSTIC agreement.
This is something, as you know, we share the training facility known as RAPSTIC with the City of Alpharetta. That agreement has not been updated in quite some time, and I have with me Battalion Chief Babel Troch, who is over that training center and our special operations and training and everything else I ask him to do. But as I go into this, I always again like to say this has been approved by legal, and with finance having some direct input. We did something different this time. We got the City of Roswell and the City of Alpharetta finance directors together in a meeting to talk about the agreement and talk about how we would bill Alpharetta. So all of that was worked out between the finance directors, which some we've never done. What you'll see here, the difference is now the revised operational costs that should be shared is 50/50 instead of 53/47. That 53/47 is simply an outdated percentage. We reviewed our consumables and the building use. We now have a much more aggressive training department, so I would venture to say in the future that we would actually be paying more because of the use that we're going to have. I recommend that it's move forward to Mayor and Council. Any questions?
The floor is open.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Palermo. Is there a second?
Second.
second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Moving on to Public Works. Thanks, Chief. Item number 5, consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to award a contract to Yancey Brothers Company to purchase a new 311 Caterpillar excavator from the state contract in the amount of $121,008. Mr. Skulski.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is to replace an old excavator, and one of the things in our master plan for stormwater was to begin installing more concrete pipe. Adam Lyon, our stormwater utility manager, has already been doing that. We've installed 2, one with a piece of rental equipment and one with our small excavator that this will be replacing. We researched several that were all on state contracts. This was the most attractive offer and the most suitable piece of equipment for what we were looking to do. The best part of this story is while Adam was shopping for equipment, the bidder kept offering more money for our old excavator. So the price he got for that went from $35,000 to $46,000. So we were very excited about that and hope you'll recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 6, consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to award a memorandum of agreement with S.J. Collins for the shared stormwater facility.
So a couple of comments on this. We've been working on this for some time. This will be one of our several shared stormwater facility memorandums of agreement. I want to thank Bob Halsey, Sharon Izo, and Lisa Hines, who all helped put this together. And what Lisa is passing out is actually a updated version of the memorandum of agreement that's current as of today when we reached verbal agreement. There are a couple of significant changes. We don't need to go through them. They're all incidental, minor changes. The main one is their name has changed, so that's important. They added some minor language that we've reviewed and legal has reviewed and we're happy with. And we've adjusted the date that the payment will be due. And those are pretty much all the major changes from what was in your draft package. And we'd be happy to address any questions you may have and hope it moves forward.
Floor is open.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Judy.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands.
So I just have a clarifying question. So what I'm curious about is there anything different about how this stormwater agreement would be set up than any other one that we've had? Like, for example, the one we had at it's the same premise as we did at Sun Valley, right?
The template was exactly what we started with from Sun Valley, and it's been modified a little bit, mostly terms and monetary things.
What would be examples of the difference from a monetary standpoint or terms?
The number's very different, but it's different in terms of how we analyze this particular value and what this particular shared stormwater facility is going to be accommodating, if that makes sense. The drainage area is more complicated.
Okay.
So there's lots more properties.
So the drainage area here is more complicated?
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, we're charging a higher amount because of that?
No, it just complicates our analysis of the stormwater crediting process. So that's really it. It's just required more from the hydrology study of the basin, which we've done with an independent engineer to confirm.
What I'd like to do is between now and when this meets with council, I'd like to I don't want to bore the committee with kind of some of the more detailed aspects. I just want to understand those differences, so I'm going to abstain tonight, and then I just want to learn about those and hopefully just be able to vote in support at the council meeting.
So there's a motion to approve with a second. All in favor, please raise your hands.
Will you be willing to add to the general information before going to mayor and council, whatever you share with Councilmember Palermo, that make it available for everybody?
Sure.
On the pack?
Of course.
Great.
Thank you. Motion carries with Councilmember Palermo abstaining. Thank you. We are adjourned.